Picture this, it's not just another Wednesday morning in Chicago, folks. Oh no, this is one of those mornings where the wind off Lake Michigan isn't just blowing, it's slapping people across the face like a rude reminder that optimism doesn't come with insulation. The L is screaming down the tracks, taxis are honking like it's a competitive sport, and somewhere in a mid-rise apartment on West Belmont Avenue, a man named Cal Peterson is having a staring contest with his bathroom mirror. And guess what? The mirror is winning. Cal wasn't the kind of guy you'd notice right away. He wasn't tall enough to be intimidating, handsome enough to be unforgettable, or quirky enough to go viral on TikTok. No, Cal was one of those guys you'd pass on the street and immediately forget you did. He worked a 9-to-5 marketing job for a logistics company that sold warehouse optimization solutions, whatever that meant, and he lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment with a view of a brick wall that was technically city-facing if you tilted your head out the window far enough to see a skyline sliver. This particular morning, Cal's bathroom light flickered like a cheap horror movie, and he was staring at himself, toothbrush in hand, looking like a man who just realized adulthood didn't come with a manual. His reflection stared back, unimpressed. Dark circles. Check. Hair doing its own interpretive dance. Double check. Self-esteem somewhere between meh and who cares. Oh, absolutely. You see, Cal wasn't unhappy. He was just unenthused. Life had become one long conveyor belt of mediocrity. Wake up, commute, work, microwave something beige, scroll through social media until your soul feels like a used napkin. Sleep, repeat. But that morning, that particular Wednesday, the wind outside wasn't the only thing stirring something up. The voiceover leans in now, because somewhere between brushing his teeth and questioning his life choices, Cal was about to experience a revelation so small, so ridiculous, and so profoundly human that it would change everything. Spoiler alert, it involves a mirror, a high five, and a very confused mail carrier later on. Cal spat into the sink, wiped his mouth, and sighed. Another day, another dollar I'll spend on delivery, he muttered. He looked at himself again. His reflection didn't look back with judgment, it looked back with that faint, silent accusation mirrors always carry. What are you doing with your life, buddy? And then, it happened. Cal blinked. His reflection blinked. But this time, the reflection smirked. He leaned closer. What the? Don't, what the, me, his reflection said. Its voice was deep, confident, like a motivational speaker with just a touch of Chicago attitude. You've been walking around like a sad beige PowerPoint slide for months. Enough. Cal froze, toothbrush midair. Okay, I'm officially losing it. The reflection shrugged. Maybe, or maybe you're finally waking up. You ever think of that? Cal rubbed his eyes. Nope, no, I think I'm going nuts. Look, Cal, you've been waiting for someone to pump you up, your boss, your friends, that motivational YouTube guy with the veins popping out of his forehead. But newsflash, no one's coming. It's just you and me, kid. I'm talking to myself in the mirror. Technically, yes, said the reflection, but hey, all geniuses start that way. Einstein probably hyped himself up before inventing E=mc². Cal stared. You're saying I should, what, high-five myself? The reflection grinned. Exactly. Start small. One self-high five. Right now. Cal laughed. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yup, said the reflection, and you've tried juicing kale, so that's saying something. He hesitated. The apartment was dead quiet except for the distant whine of a passing siren. The reflection looked at him expectantly, hand raised. Cal sighed. This is insane. Welcome to progress, said the reflection. Now hit it. With a reluctant grin, Cal lifted his palm. Smack. The sound echoed through the tiny bathroom like a firecracker of self-affirmation. For a split second, Cal felt lighter. Dumber, sure, but lighter, like he'd tricked his brain into believing he could maybe, possibly, handle life today. The reflection winked. See, feels stupid but works. That's the secret formula, my man. Stupidity plus repetition equals confidence. Cal laughed again. You're seriously insane. I'm you, buddy, said the reflection. So maybe start there. Cut to voiceover again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the moment it began. The self-high-five revolution. Not with a grand speech or an inspirational montage, but with a lonely Chicago guy slapping his own reflection before work. Because sometimes, that's what it takes. Confidence isn't found, it's practiced. Repeated, reinforced, preferably before your coffee gets cold. By 8:45 a.m., Cal was sprinting to the L, coat half-buttoned, tie crooked, still buzzing from that weird mirror moment. The wind howled, pigeons dive-bombed bagels, and commuters trudged past him with glazed expressions. But Cal was smiling. Not because life had magically fixed itself, but because for the first time in months, he'd shown up for himself. Morning in Chicago again. The city hums like an old jazz tune, gritty, unpredictable, and slightly out of tune. It's been a week since Cal's first self-high five, and let me tell you, things have gotten interesting. His co-workers had noticed. Cal, you're weirdly chipper lately, said Denise from accounting, sipping her burnt breakroom coffee. Thanks, Cal said, typing away. Not a compliment, she deadpanned. But he didn't care. His mornings had turned into rituals. Shower, coffee, mirror pep talk, self-high five. Boom, instant energy. At first, he kept it secret, because how do you explain to people that you've started your day by physically slapping your reflection like it owes you rent? But soon, it became a thing. The kind of thing that changes you from the inside out. He walked differently, talked differently, smiled like he'd figured out a cheat code for being alive. And the reflection, oh, it had plenty to say. You're getting there, it said one morning. I feel ridiculous, Cal replied. Good, that's what growth feels like, awkward and loud. He'd high-five again, harder, louder. Now, if you've never high-fived yourself in the mirror, let me tell you, it's weird. It's the emotional equivalent of doing karaoke sober. But it's also liberating. Because that reflection doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter, it just mirrors back what you bring to it. And Cal, he was finally bringing something worth reflecting. But not everyone was on board. One night, Cal's best friend Marcus came over with takeout and a six-pack. Dude, what's up with all this mirror nonsense? Marcus asked, plopping on the couch. You turning into one of those Instagram, rise and grind, guys? Cal shrugged. Maybe, but it's working. Working how? I don't know, I just feel more in control. Like, I'm the main character again. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You high-fived yourself into main character energy. Cal grinned. Pretty much. Marcus laughed. Bro, I love you, but that's the most millennial self-help crap I've ever heard. Probably, Cal said, but I'll take feeling ridiculous over feeling stuck any day. By the end of that month, Cal had done something unthinkable. He applied for a creative lead position in his company. The same role he'd talked himself out of a dozen times before. When the interview came, he stood in his bathroom mirror, palms up, reflection waiting. You ready? It asked. I think so. No, you know so. Cal smiled. You're getting good at this. Hey, I learned from the best. Smack. One last high five before stepping into the real world. And here's the thing about confidence, it doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It sneaks up on you like a slow rising sun behind a skyscraper. One day, you realize you're walking a little taller, speaking a little clearer, and somehow, the world feels just slightly more conquerable. The interview went well, better than well. Cal was funny, sharp, and surprisingly fearless. When they asked why he thought he could lead a team, he said, because I finally stopped waiting for permission to believe I could. The HR manager blinked. That's actually kind of profound. Cal smiled. Thanks. I high-fived myself this morning. She laughed. Whatever works. Later that evening, back in his apartment, Cal stood in front of the mirror again. You did it, said his reflection. Not yet, Cal said. But I'm getting there. Then you know what to do. He raised his palm. Smack. This time, it wasn't just an act of self-encouragement, it was a declaration. A victory salute to himself, from himself. And sir, dear listeners, this is how change really happens. Not through lightning bolts or grand speeches, but through small, repeated, unapologetically silly acts of self-belief. Like a man in a Chicago apartment giving himself a high five while the world outside keeps spinning. A week later, Cal got the job. The pay raise was nice, sure, but what really mattered was that feeling. The one that told him he could do more than he'd ever let himself believe. That night, he met Marcus at a dive bar by the lake. Marcus raised a glass. To your mirror, I guess. Cal laughed. Nah, to me. They clinked glasses. And somewhere far away, in an apartment with flickering bathroom light and peeling wallpaper, a reflection smiled back proudly. Here's the moral, folks. You can't wait for the world to cheer for you. Sometimes you've got to start the applause yourself. Maybe even in the mirror. Because when you can celebrate you, when you can look your own reflection in the eye and say, I've got this, you're unstoppable. And sure, it looks ridiculous. But you know what? So does every great revolution at first. So next time you pass a mirror, don't just fix your hair or sigh at your tired face. Raise your hand. Hit that self-high five. Remind yourself who's been there the whole time. You, the only person who's never left your side.
Like and subscribe if you want to be happy and motivate.